Hey everyone, Brett from Kitchen Table Commander here, and I'm back with another deck tech. After my last top 10 video, I remembered that I wanted to build a mono blue commander deck, and that I had a blast building a sealed deck around Tetsuko Umezawa Fugitive. Let's take a look at our commander. Tetsuko Umezawa Fugitive is 1 and a blue for a 1/3 human rogue. Her ability is creatures you control with power or toughness 1 or less can't be blocked. Seems pretty decent, especially since it means that she gets in for commander damage without worrying about being blocked. I will point out that we're going to try and stick to a budget-friendly build, so let me know if you like this format or not by leaving a comment and hitting that like button. Now get ready for mono unblockable Tetsuko. Despite being designed around creatures with low power or toughness, we've got a lot going on here, so let's start off with ways of making that unblockable damage a bit higher. We've got Onaginata, Throwing Knife, and Loxodon Warhammer to increase the power of our creatures. Onaginata may be restricted to creatures that already have power 3 or more, but that won't be a problem. Throwing Knife is good if your creature is going to die anyway, just sacrifice it and deal 2 damage to a creature or player of your choice. And of course, Loxodon Warhammer. Giving a creature trample isn't really that important in this deck, but giving it lifelink is awesome. This will help keep you alive in the long game. Next up is Signal Pest and Thunder Staff to give your attackers a repeatable boost to power. And we have Merfolk Thermatologist and Twisted Image to give us the option to swap a creature's power and toughness. Need a blocker but only have a creature you'd attack with? Problem solved. Need a big attack but you only have a blocker? I got you. Twisted Image also gives us a bonus with extra card draw. Speaking of card draw, we have Bident of Thassa and Coastal Piracy to keep your hand filled each time your unblockable creatures connect. You're going to be drawing so many cards with those two that you'll need Spellbook, Graceful Adept, and Reliquary Tower to make sure you have no maximum hand size. Eternal of Harsh Truths is here to give your opponents a headache. With Tetsuko on board, they'll be taking 1 damage and you'll be drawing a card. Without Tetsuko, they have to make a choice. What's worse, taking 2 or taking 1 and letting you draw a card? And with a Thermatologist or Twisted Image, you can make their lives more miserable. Keep Watch gets you card draw on your attack, but it also gets you answers when your opponents attack. Obviously, since the biggest impact of the unblockable ability comes from high power, low toughness creatures, we aren't going to want to block with them. We are going to need ways of keeping ourselves alive long enough to finish off our opponents. So to protect ourselves, we have Web of Inertia to keep your opponents from attacking you unless they exile a card from their graveyard. If they do exile cards to be able to attack, we have cards like Bluster Squall to tap 1 or all of their creatures down. Apathy to make them discard if they want to attack again. Backfire to deter an attack with their big creature. Your opponent better have more life than you if they hope to survive their own attack. Lethargy Trap reduces the damage of an Alpha Strike by giving all attacking creatures -3/-0, and you can do that for 1 blue mana. Phyrexian Revoker to stop activated abilities of a named card. Your opponents have a Planeswalker making your life miserable. The Revoker will turn that big dumb Karn into a big dumb paperweight. Wall of Vapor can block pretty much anything your opponent can throw at it. Walking Sponge helps you keep safe by taking away Flying, First Strike, or Trample from a creature your opponent controls. Or I guess one of yours if you really wanted to. The way we get the most out of this deck is if we have our commander on the battlefield. Being 2 mana means even if she dies, we won't be held back by commander attacks. But the best way to take advantage of her ability is to keep her safe. To do this, we've included Alexi's Cloak and Swiftfoot boots to give her Shroud and Hexproof respectively, with the boots also giving her haste so she can attack the turn she comes down. We've also included a mill sub-theme for this deck. What's better than killing your opponent with combat or commander damage? Watching them go to draw from a non-existent library. So to make that a reality, we've included Chronic Flooding to both stop them from using their most powerful land and slowly mill them to death if they decide to use it. Crosstown Courier mills based on damage done, so it's a great target for Loxodon Warhammer. Riddle Keeper encourages your opponent to really think through their attacks, acting like a ghostly prison but paying in library instead of mana. Coral Fighters lets you scry your opponent's library, letting you bottom their next potential draw or maybe just flood them out. We've gone with a mix of mill and exile so that we can keep things out of the graveyard if we go against a deck like Marin, Carador, or Sidisi. So we've got Mist Intruder and Scalpel Plexus to exile the top of the library, with Scalpel Plexus going 4 deep and repeating the process if 2 or more cards share a name. That might sound terrible in a singleton format, but don't forget that lands share names. If there are 2 of any basic land type, it counts. Rootwater Thief lets you go searching for a card in your opponent's library and then exiles it. Know they have a Crater Hoof or an Emrakul in their deck? Swing in and get rid of it. And lastly, we have Graven Abomination exile cards from graveyards. What deck would be complete without removal? Of course we have Annul and Counterspell, but being in blue we've opted for Bounce as our main form of removal. For targeted removal we have Boomerang, Capsize, Champion's Victory, and Sweep Away. Of course, buyback on Capsize makes it expensive to cast, but don't underestimate having repeatable bounce effects. Contempt is awesome. Target their most annoying creature and they'll have to cast it again if they decide to attack. Commit puts target spell or non-land permanent second from the top of their library, giving you a reprieve from whatever they were about to do. Cephalid Constable returns permanents your opponent's control to their hand based on the damage dealt, so again, a great target for the Warhammer. Going up against an equipment deck, then you're going to want Disarm, unattaching all equipment from target creature. Sorin is on, no hammer for you. Aetherize and Aether Spouts are one-sided board wipes, with Aether Spouts having the added benefit of putting the creatures on the top or bottom of your opponent's library, keeping them from drawing anything new and recasting everything they worked so hard for. Mirror Match can really be a blowout when your opponents go for the Alpha Strike. Hypnotic Siren can steal their best creature and gives it a boost in flying, making it even more dangerous for your opponent than it was for you. And last is the ever-hilarious Illusionist Gambit. Removing all attackers from combat is nice, but forcing them to attack the other players is just amazing. Love it. Now let's talk about the creatures we haven't already mentioned. We've got Silver Mirror as an extra source of mana. Memnite and Hope of Girper are good for early game, with Hope giving you the ability to stop your opponent from being able to cast non-creature spells until your next turn. Merfolk Spy gets in early and lets you know what your opponent has in hand. Anvilrot Raptor, Horizon Drake, Cloud Spirit, and Wicker Witch will take advantage of Tetsuko's ability. Infiltrator Il Core for its suspend cost makes its way into the deck. Having Shadow means that even without Tetsuko on the battlefield, you can still get in for 3 damage every turn. We've included Master of Waves to make a buttload of 2/1 elemental tokens since our devotion to blue is so high. Nimble Obstructionist can be another great source of unblockable damage with Tetsuko, but you also have the option of cycling it to counter-activate it or trigger abilities your opponents might be using to their advantage. And last is Oval Chase Dragster. Crew cost of 1 on a 6/1 Trample Hasty Body makes it an auto-include in this deck. I mean, it's not like Trample even matters since it's going to be unblockable, but it's still hard to ignore 6 damage. I picture Tetsuko in the driver's seat on this one. Moving on to our land base, we are mono blue, so we get a little light on the specialty land here. If for some reason we aren't hitting our land drops, we've included Thaumatic Compass to help, but mostly because Spires of Erasca is so awesome to keep any attacks our opponents might have in mind under control. We've also included Ice Flow for the same reason. Tap a creature and keep it tapped indefinitely. Finish it off with Coral Atoll and 36 islands. Yup, that's it. I told you we were budget. The best part is that this whole deck is less than $50 in paper and less than 7 ticks on Magic Online. If you wanted to upgrade this deck, then consider including Collective Restraint and Propaganda to stop unwanted attacks. Basically the blue versions of Ghostly Prison. Back to basics, since a large portion of commander decks include non-basics for shenanigans. Lightning Greaves for another way to protect Tetsuko. Bloodforged Battle Axe gives us more ways of boosting the power of our creatures. Over and over and over again. And of course, Cyclonic Rift, the ultimate bounce spell. Well, that about does it for today. I'd love to hear what you think about this deck in the comments. If you've enjoyed this video, please remember to like, comment, share, and subscribe. Don't forget to hit that notification bell so you know the second I upload a new video. Also, if you want to watch me play video games badly, consider subscribing to Kitchen Table Games. That's where I'll be uploading the replays from the Twitch streams. As always, you can find me on Twitter at KitchenTableCommand and on Instagram at KitchenTableCommander. If you want to support the channel, consider becoming a patron over on our Patreon, just like these fine folks. I'll leave a link in the description. Speaking of supporting the channel, you can do that thanks to our sponsor, Inked Gaming. You can use coupon code KitchenTable10 at checkout to get 10% off your purchase. And hey, you can even grab a Kitchen Table Commander playmat while you're there. Link in the description. Well, it's been a blast, and we'll see you in the next video.